Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be painting a Monarch butterfly using Holbein Acrylic Gouache with the Princeton Velvetouch brushes. Right now I'm just taping down my painting area. For this painting, I decided to use the Uniball Vision fine point pen for my drawing. And I'm starting out using the orange yellow for the butterfly wings. This paint is a little bit transparent, so using this pen worked out really well so that I could see all of the details for later on in the painting. The one problem that I did have with this Uniball Vision was that with this paper, the pen kind of bleeds a little bit, so it feathers out. The paper I'm using is the Arteza square sketchbook. I took it apart and I just use the pieces of paper now just for little tiny illustrations as opposed to having it in a full sketchbook. Overall, using this Uniball Vision pen worked out really well. It was a lot easier to see where my lines were once I started painting. Now I'm going in with the cream yellow, and I'm using this for the center of the flowers that I'm painting. And again, it was really easy to see where my lines were once I started painting over them. I don't necessarily need to see them perfectly. I just like to visibly see a little bit of my line work so that I know where I'm gonna paint next. I use the lines as a guide, and I'm very reliant on my sketch while I'm painting. And now I'm using the ultramarine blue and the rose violet to create a purple. This is my favorite combination to use when creating purple. I love that you can get it more of a blue hue or more of a rose hue. So I really love this color combination. And one thing I'm working on is trying to create a more limited palette. So not having a purple color in my palette is really nice because that's one less tube of paint that I need to keep track of or have. And I think creating a limited palette is really good to make all of your pieces of artwork cohesive, so they all have the same similar colors that they're using. And that's something I'm working on. So far, the only two colors that I've really nailed down in this limited palette are the rose violet and ultramarine blue. So I'm going ahead and I'm painting all of these flowers purple now. And I wanted these purple flowers to be a little bit more on the blue side so that they complement the orange monarch nicely. And now I'm going in and I'm adding highlights by adding white to my rose violet and ultramarine blue mixture to create that light area in the center of the petals. This will add a little bit more dimension to the flowers itself and make them stand out a little bit more. Now I've added even more white to that mixture so that we get more highlights within those flower petals. And this again adds more depth and dimension to the illustration. Now I'm going in with the Sap Green. And Sap Green is what I'm going to use for the background and the leaves. Typically, I like to create green by using black and yellow, but in this case, I am using Sap Green when I have to choose a pre-made green color for my illustrations. I really do like a Sap Green. I added some of the titanium white to the Sap Green to create the colors for the leaves. And as the leaves come closer to you, I added more and more white to them to create that dimension going through the painting. And now I'm squeezing out the last bit of black that I have. And I'm gonna go through and do line art on this illustration. Typically, I like to use a darker tone of the color I'm using. So like in this case, I would use a really, really dark sap green. So I would add black to the sap green to create a darker green color. But since the outside of the butterfly is going to be black, I decided to use black for all of the line art in this illustration, just to kind of bring the whole piece together and create a cohesive feel. Plus, using black in this case will actually help the flowers stand out more from the background. I really do love the color combination of purple and green together. I think they're very complementary of each other, obviously. But I think they work really well too if you were to like blend them together in a gradient. And now I'm adding in all of the little line art details to the Monarch butterfly, and I'm starting to paint the outside of the wings. This was a bit tedious because instead of painting everything black that needed to be black, I painted around the little white dots that the butterfly has. I could have gone in and just painted everything black and did like white dots on top of it, but I wanted to go around them and just leave those areas as paper popping through. So I didn't use any solid white for this illustration, even though that would have been easier and faster. I chose not to do it that way. And now I'm going in with burnt sienna for the body of the butterfly. As I was painting, I felt that this color was a little bit too close to the orange of the monarch butterfly, so I added a little bit of black to it to deepen up that color a little bit more and to add a little bit more contrast. Again, painting around those little white dots. And now I'm adding in orange yellow for the center of those flowers. And I did kind of a gradient effect. So I mixed cream yellow and orange yellow and painted them, starting with the lightest color on the outside and then getting darker in the inside. And this is another thing I typically do in all of my illustrations where I have leaves or flowers, is I really like to draw the veins of the leaves. Typically I would have chose a darker green color, but in this case I chose to do black to keep with the cohesive look and feel of the illustration. And now for the satisfying tape peel. All in all, this illustration probably took me about, 2 to 3 hours to draw and paint. And this is the finished product. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on painting a butterfly anytime soon. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!